Andy Crestodina. I'm a co-founder of Orbit Media. Orbit is a web design company in the neighborhood of Ravenswood on the north side of the city. We don't do neuromarketing. We don't do SEO. We don't do content or social or email or all those great things that go with the website once it's live. Orbit just builds the website. But I often say, if Orbit built cars, I'd be a driver's ed teacher. I really try hard to pass along everything that I learn, and I do a lot of research, and I do a lot of experimenting, and do a lot of content marketing myself. And we've been around for 14 years. We've done like 1,000 projects. I have, just have talked to thousands of companies, and I like to teach the best things I learn, hoping that it's good for you guys, that it's good for Chicago, that it's good for all the other businesses that we can't necessarily help directly through our services. So this is a super fun topic. It's neuromarketing. It's brain science. And this all came from a bunch of research that I saw that led me to read a couple books. And then I did a lot more research. And we ended up giving a presentation in our audience at our office, a little event called Wine and Web. Matt, were you there?
No, I was sick.
Good. So nobody here has seen this presentation before. Excellent. I was scared because I see a few people that come to that event. And I'm glad that maybe just Matt. Sorry you were sick. Glad you're feeling better. Yeah. This is makeup class. Perfect. OK, some people call it persuasion research or social influence research, cognitive bias research, social psychology, brain scans, unconscious decision making, eye tracking studies, behavioral economics. Neuromarketing is really a catch-all phrase for all kinds of different things. Basically, it's the study of how advertising and content marketing messages interact with the brain to affect behavior. Specifically, how they take advantage of specific cognitive biases. We are humans. We evolved from earlier humans, and times have changed, although we still have a lot of this kind of stuff built into our minds that affect how we make decisions all the time. And there are tons of examples. It kind of freaks me out. It's amazing to see how this stuff actually works. And it's not necessarily online. It's everywhere. It affects all kinds of decisions. So there's a little tiny guy down here, and in front of him is an even smaller sign. This is the redwood forest, and they had a problem. People were walking off the path and damaging the forest, right? So they tried different messages on these signs. Don't try to read it. That's OK. Don't worry. But some of the messages told people what they should do. Some messages said what they shouldn't do. Some said what others have done. That's good. Some said what others have done. That's bad. Others' behavior positive, others' behavior negative. Desired behavior, what you should do, positive. Desired behavior, what you shouldn't do, negative. Which of these signs had which effect? The control group of no signs had 16% of people walking off the path. One of these signs actually got more people to leave the path. It backfired. Something bad happened. It's like, other people did something bad, don't do it. More people did that. How weird is that? So it really does matter. This is just a language. It's a combination of words that affected people's brains in certain ways and affected behavior. It really works. I think I should have put Jedi mind tricks on the previous slide, because that's almost what I call it. That one there was an example of one that's really common, and you see this everywhere in marketing. Social proof. What others did, social proof. It's an easy thing to use in your marketing, so I recommend it. And I'm going to give you some examples of it, good and bad. There's one. Ever seen that before? Billions and billions served. Why do they do that? Because it's normal. The reason it works is because, in the words of social philosopher Eric Hoffer, when people are free to do as they please, they usually imitate each other. That should actually say we usually imitate each other. It's all of us, right? As if Eric's not included in this. Of course, he's the same as the rest of us, right? The point of social proof is to make any decision other than using your service or buying your product seem outside the norm. That would be weird if you didn't eat at McDonald's. Billions of people have been served there, right? That's the goal. All different ways you can do it. One of them is endorsements, very common. It's an easy one to do. Razor Social, my friend Ian Cleary runs this website. He profiles social media marketing tools. And right there, he's got a guide, and there's a picture of Amy Porterfield. Facebook marketing thought leader. She is literally like 50 pixels away from the brand. Your positive impression of Amy Porterfield, what a sweetheart, so generous and helpful, is giving a halo effect, they call it, to that brand, right? Social proof. An influencer likes it, it must be good. It's going to be legit. Here's another example that lots of sites do. I recommend this all the time, and I think that it's good to do it all at once in this place. The trust box. Put all your seals, the trust seals, in one place. This is a website we built for a telecom company. They put them all on the bottom. They've got like fastest growing company, Inc. 5000, all these different awards. You don't even have to recognize what these awards are for them to have an effect on you. Putting them all together in one place on the website is called a trust box. Putting them at the bottom of the site, I think, makes sense because you make the claim up high, and the visitor keeps scrolling. They want evidence. They want proof. They went all the way to the bottom. Now give them that proof. But you can see, like the halo effect, there's literally a pixel distance between the claim and the evidence. We'll see more of that in a minute. This slide, you wouldn't have seen it when I found this research since then. So Matt, you're getting more than those other kids did. This is the actual trustworthiness of different badges that affect the checkout rate on e-commerce sites. Norton. By the way, these are all different security certificates, SSL certificates. Guess what SSL certificates do? They encrypt your data before it passes through the internet. They're all exactly the same. It's a total commodity product, but some work much better than others. Norton is the most trusted, not for any good reason. I'm serious. All these products do exactly the same thing, except in the minds of your audience, in which case, if you're trying to increase sales, it would make sense to use one that's more trusted. Weird that works. Testimonials are a classic way to give proof, and lots of sites do it. There's good and bad ways to do it. Basically, your visitor is the jury. As an attorney, you're making your statement over here, your claim over here in the middle of the page. And this is the witness box over here on the right rail in this case, right? Look at the distance between the claim we're making and the evidence of it, the testimonial. This makes this a stronger page. The most powerful, and we'll talk about it, are video testimonials. Video, much more than text, has the ability to build trust with your audience because you get two things that text doesn't do. You get tone of voice, which you're getting from me now, and you get body language, which you get on any video format, of course, and live events. Tone of voice, body language, and the words you choose are the three things, one verbal and two nonverbal, the three things that every listener, every audience, every viewer uses to decide whether or not that message is trustworthy. Text alone only gives you one of those three. So when those three align, that's why video testimonials are the atomic bomb of marketing. They're really, really effective. It makes sense, though, to put them right there on that page, because if you put all your testimonials together on one page, go look at your analytics. Anyone here have a testimonials page? No one's going to? A couple. OK. I'm going to make a recommendation to you guys who admitted, and those who I'm sure have one and didn't say it, didn't raise your hand. Get rid of your testimonials page. Make every page a testimonials page. Put them everywhere. Put them on the page so that they are right next to the claim that you're making. The reason is you don't want to expect your audience to go see a claim here and then click on testimonials and scroll down and which one of these are relevant to the service that I was looking for. No, not going to happen. It doesn't work. Just look at your analytics, right? The number of views on your services pages are higher than the number of views on your testimonials page. That means these people are not connecting the dots. They're not getting the message. Why don't people go to testimonials pages? It's not in it. What's in it for them? That smells like marketing, right? They can see it a mile away. So get rid of your testimonials page and put them all over the site. So this is an example of what not to do. I have a different slide where I blur out that company's logo. Let's all tweet to them now with some web advice, huh? No, let's not do that. Calls to action. OK, numbers. We want to make any decision other than using our product or service, or in this case, subscribing to our newsletter, seem weird. It would be weird if you didn't do that, right? Why wouldn't you do that? Everyone's doing it. Call to action? No, call to conform. Join the 5,500 people. It's how many now, Amanda? 6,600 people on our newsletter. This number is why. It's because we're giving social proof who receive biweekly web marketing tips. Evidence. And by the way, this sign-up box, again, pixel distance. I would almost count the pixels between this and whatever the person found that was useful. Quick side note, here's how to maximize the percentage of people who subscribe for newsletters on your website. If you hadn't gotten the memo, every hardcore marketer I know is aggressively growing their email list. I just read a post on the train on the way down here. Michael Stelzner says the #1 goal in his on Social Media Examiner was to grow the size of their email list. You know, you don't own Google or Facebook or Twitter or any other social network. All that is called rented land. What do you own? Your website, your content, and your list. That's all that you own in your marketing. Everything else is, you know, make sure you take every advantage, use every chance you get to grow the size of your list. So, sign-up box best practices. This big red box is very prominent, visually prominent. This big red box makes a promise. You're going to get something, what? Bi-weekly web marketing tips. You're going to get it when? Well, you're going to get when bi-weekly what web marketing tips. Way too many people have email sign-up forms on their website that say, newsletter sign-up, submit. That would be very strange if someone signed up for your newsletter. It would be crazy. Like, why would they do that? That's weird. Someone signed up for my newsletter today. I didn't tell them what they're getting. I gave them no evidence of legitimacy. I didn't tell them how often they're going to get it. Yeah, and it doesn't work too well. I'll show you what ours was like. We used to have this big box at the top that took you to a different page. Again, proximity problem, right? We like to share our thoughts about web strategy and blah, 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 blah. And we had this big thing at the top of the site. We changed it to be a little sign-up box, a sign-up box that was similar, finally evolving it again to this one down here. The before and after difference, screenshot from analytics, a 1,900% increase in the percentage of visitors who subscribe to our newsletter. Prominence, promise, and proof. There's a fourth P for signups. That's privacy. If you have a really paranoid target audience, you might want to add privacy. But those first three Ps should do it. So go look at your website. If you have a separate, so far we've got 2 very actionable tips, I think, right? Get rid of your testimonials page and make sure that your email sign-up box has a strong call to action, better yet, a call to conform. Question?
I was just going to ask, do you have that on every screen, or is it just on one page?
Good question. The question is that on every screen, or is that on one page? I recommend making it available. There are blogs I could share that have a list of all the places you should put your sign-up box, and there are many. I recommend putting it in the footer so that it is on every page, truly on every page. If someone really wants it, they can get it there. But I'll tell you now from analytics, no, that's not where most people are going to sign up for it. Most people are going to sign up for it when they are blown away by the super useful information you gave. I don't have a screenshot. Wait, I do. They're blown away by the super useful information you gave them over here. And they say, I want more of that. Oh, look, I can drop off my email address and get more of it right here. Putting it all over the place won't hurt, but that's where you're going to get the most subscriptions. Proximity, right? It's right there next to the content that blew their mind. More social proof. Groupon does this very well. Here's a company that spent millions to optimize the conversion rate on their website. How many people bought this? 240. 240 people bought it. Wow, that must be good. I got to sign up for my microdermabrasion. Can't miss that. Everyone's doing it, right? What if my microderm doesn't get abrased? I've got to get that right away. Media logos and press recognition are the kind of thing that few people take advantage of. Anyone here a blogger? I'm going to ask this question later. Anyone here ever do any guest blogging for other websites? Anyone here ever take those super credible logos of the places where you've guest posted and put them on your homepage? Me neither. But you could, and be powerful. If you needed that credibility, you definitely could. So they just show that, halo effect, US News and World Report. That's credible. Yeah, if you've done any guest blogging, you know really how much that means. It's not that much. You can guest blog for anybody. All these places are starving for content. You pitch them something, and if you know what they're looking for, it's not that hard to get the placement. To get better, you might do that for link building for SEO or for some social media benefit or for brand building. But if you go ahead and put that logo on your site, that's going to make you even more credible. In this case, it has longevity, right? US News and World Report, maybe that is buried at the bottom of a pile of magazines from 6 months ago, but that logo could persist, much more durable. It stays on your homepage. My friend Danny Eni is a blogger, and He spent a year guest blogging all over the internet, and that's his homepage. I had to fuzz out this background so that you'd be able to see it well. But pro blogger, copy blogger, think traffic, marketing profs, smashing magazine. He is taking full advantage. Danny's a very smart guy. Social media widgets. I generally want visitors to come to a website, get super impressed, and then take an action and become a lead or a customer. I don't really want people to come to a website and then go leave and go to a social network. If you've got big, candy-like, colorful social media buttons all over your homepage, ask yourself, do you really want your visitors to leave and go to that other social network? Are you really even active in that social network? Or is that YouTube button or Pinterest button you put on your website 2 years ago, is that really taking people to a dead social network where you're really not all that active after all? Sadly, a lot of people have nice, beautiful, minimal blue site, big, prominent, visually prominent Pinterest button, and they don't really even pin stuff anymore. Breaks my heart. That's called going backwards up the funnel rather than going downwards through the funnel. So be careful about linking to social networks. Those buttons are really colorful, and they can be overpowering and effect at pulling your visitors' eyes toward them. Here's an example, though. This is I've seen this done well. This is in a community, Moz, and this is a sign-up box. And here are a bunch of people that I know. Wow, there's Lindsay. There's a different Lindsay I know. There's Rebecca, Christine. I want to be in this box. There's Kate. I know all these people. I better like that. Now you can see how the proximity from me to my social network is really driving that behavior. So social media widgets have that unique power. Social proof can backfire. R2-D2 will star in Star Wars Episode 7. Nobody's really sharing this one. Maybe I'm in the wrong place. I'm not at the party. Something's happening somewhere else. This does not look like a really fun blog to hang out on. I'm out of here. So be careful when you choose your sharing buttons, that you choose buttons that don't use negative social proof. Remember the guy who walks off the path because it says, you know, everybody's doing something else. Here's a list. Testimonials we mentioned, endorsements, social media shares, social media widgets, certifications. We'll share these slides. The number of your happy customers, billions served, right? Our most popular, bestseller, studies, statistics, press mentions, reviews. These are all types of social proof. It's very easy to take advantage of. And if nothing else, I would maybe, even without redesigning your website, just on that page where you are talking about the services you offer, put in some quotes of people you've helped. Put in a statistic of what that really does for you. When you train yourself to do this, you're gonna have a folder in your email where you naturally save every one of these. You know, it's the good file. You keep all that stuff. It's very useful, powerful marketing later. Question?
Real quick question. With the testimonials, what's the statistics on adding a photo or not adding a photo next to the quote? Of the image of the face.
Right. Great question. I read this. Luckily, I have an answer for you. That's a really specific question, but I just read a study that answers that. I wish I had a slide for it. It goes something like this. Basecamp, formerly known as 37 Signals, tested putting people's pictures next to the testimonials versus not having their picture there. The bump in conversion rates was 102%. So you can roughly double the power, the conversion increase power of a testimonial by including a face. Quick way to include a face, you know, who's on Twitter? I almost expect it to be everybody by now. Right, Judy? Come on. Jeff's on Twitter. Why aren't you guys on Twitter? Look, there's an influencer who's on Twitter. You should be on Twitter too. Social proof. Embed a tweet. You can embed a tweet, right? Great. Compliments fly through your stream all the time, right? If you're helping people, it's likely. You can just, right, there's like those 3 dots, I think, over there, and then it gives you this little menu, and then you can embed that tweet, gives you some HTML, put that into that, you know, put it close to where you're making the claim. That's a picture, and it's easy to do. So it's kind of weird to take tweets and use them as testimonials if they're not embedded, because it's kind of taking it out of context, I think. It's a little weird. Everything you say is marketing, but when they say it, it's social proof. This was, that's a quote from me. I'm giving myself credit for that. Priming. This is agency legend. I don't have the research to show it, but what's the recommended dosage for Alka-Seltzer? 1 tablet. But what do they show in the ads? Plop, plop, fizz, fizz. It's always 2, right? Legend has it they doubled sales for Alka-Seltzer the day they started the campaign with the 2 tabs. Priming. It just sets this expectation that that is the frame of reference, right? That's how you use it. Everything is relative to what's around it. Everything lives in its own context, right? This determines our expectations for cost and time and everything else in the world. Here's an example. This was not an e-commerce example. The link to the study is actually down here, but I show this because you can see things side by side. That bread maker is $380. This bread maker is $235. Is $235 expensive? No, I don't know. Maybe not. That one's more expensive, right? That's how your brain works. The frame of reference is given, the context creates it. So this is how Williams-Sonoma doubled the sales of its high-end bread maker by making an even higher-end bread maker. They don't even, it doesn't even matter if you ever sell one of those, right? Who cares if people buy that one? It's doubled the sales of your other one. That's the idea. That's how it works. Look at the Kissmetrics pricing page. Professional, $500 a month. Ooh, sounds pricey. $250 a month? Yeah, OK. Yeah, maybe that's in my range. Not as expensive. OK, so I'm going to sign up for Kissmetrics. That's how it works. Look at the GitHub pricing. $22? Wait a minute. That's a lot. There's one for $12. $22. That's a lot of money. $250. Nah, that sounds reasonable. Why does that work? It's because you're anchored to this big number, right? I don't do this, but if I was smarter, like Neuromarketer, I'd use this in sales. How much do your websites cost? Well, there are agencies that charge, $250,000 for a website. You could pay a lot of money for a website. Ours are only 100 grand. That doesn't sound right. Realtors use this, right? Priming. You are connected to that first number. There's a million examples of this. It's freaky how powerful this is. There's a study, I don't have a slide for it, but there's a study where they gave these, elderly people puzzles to solve. The puzzles, word puzzles, had different answers. Some of the answers to these puzzles were about youth and vigor and energy and dexterity. The other group had puzzles for which the answers were things like age, fragility, seniority. And then the test was really to measure how fast they all walked back to the elevator from the testing room. The people whose answers on their word tests were indicated age walked slower. Why does that work? Like, that's crazy. Like, we're so affected by context. It actually mattered. I don't know if I'm sad, if I'm happy to know it. By the way, all this stuff is useful to you. Even if you don't do neuromarketing. We're consumers. Pay attention to this, how other people are trying to control your brain, right? It matters. Options are good. We just saw how options are good. Options have a chance to create anchoring or priming. Options can backfire. Let's say you're buying some flea and tick medication. Aren't we all? A landing page that has 4 options here was tested against a landing page that had just 1 option. This is Adlucent testing this for some Advantix. The page with 1 option had a conversion rate of 233% higher, right? 233% more people converted from a visitor into a customer, spending 366% more per click. They even bought 40% more stuff. I believe the difference is this. This visitor has expressed their intent. They know that they want flea and tick medicine, right? They clicked on the ad, they landed on the page, they're ready to go. Now it's time to get everything else out of the way. Don't give them more options, right? She's ready, kiss her. Don't give them, they said they want flea and tick medicine. Don't put all kinds of other options in there. You can, by simplifying the message at the bottom of the funnel, you can increase conversions. Question? So to the point of when you do have a choice, is there something magic about the number 3, say, as opposed to 5 or 2? I think there's something magic about odd. The question is there something magic about the number 3 instead of 5 or 2? I do believe, and I don't have evidence, but I watch everybody do it, and I do it myself. I do believe in the magic of odd numbers. Odd numbers in headlines, odd numbers in marketing. Odd numbers look credible. Don't round. Odd numbers give a feeling of kind of, oh, it's scientific. It's, it came up, they didn't just make that up. It's odd. The fact that there's 3s there, I think 3 is probably the minimum to create a small, medium, large psychology. Like, oh, that's too small. I can I'm worth more than that. And ooh, that's expensive. I don't want to spend that much. You got the Goldilocks, not too hot, not too cold, right in the middle. Could you do it with more? Sure, sure. I've seen lots of sites that do it with much more. I suspect if you were to test it, that you'd find that 3 is a good number, that the things that make a bigger difference are the text on the call to action button, the colors, what else is on that page, can you increase it by removing distractions. Conversion optimization best practices are pretty well established. I'm not sure if the number of options on the priming example there would have made a difference, but other things might. Question?
How does that compare to like Amazon and their related items that come up when you're about to do like one-click purchase, and then related items comes up?
Right, right. Well, Amazon doesn't really have a cart, right? When you add something to the cart, you just land on this giant page of recommendations. Amazon is brilliantly optimized. I don't necessarily recommend trying to follow in the footsteps of Amazon, because that is a really weird company. Amazon actually has ads for other sites on their site. Like, who does that? Like, they do strange things that would seem odd, but they just have so much data that they can make such targeted recommendations that they know that the results are really high when they give you suggestions. So, but yeah, that's one thing I think is really clever about Amazon. I don't know if I have examples in here, but just look at it. You'll see at the end of this, I'm going through like 3 or 5 different things. I can't remember how many examples I give, but at the end, go look at an Amazon page and see how many examples of neuromarketing you can find, and there's at least 4 or 5 on every page. Amazing, really powerful. But Amazon, I think, is just brilliant at recommendations, and they know that they know what you want. So keep showing them what they want. Too many options. This web page is bad. That web page is good. If you have ruined your website by, this is why websites get old, by the way. Websites get old and rusty because people keep adding more crap to them, and you could simplify it and keep it young and happy. So if you're advertising for yourself on your website, I would get rid of that and focus on the content and not try to fight with yourself, right? These things are all competing for the visitor's attention. So, so now we're on to number 3. This is a big, big piece of neuromarketing that that there's lots of examples of, and it's actually scary how powerful it is. Every year, people fight, like they fight. Little grandmothers fight with each other on Black Friday to get deals. These people are in a Target parking lot, like they're going to blows. Like, these are normal people who are acting crazy because they're afraid they're going to miss something, right? They're afraid they're going to lose out on something. Being afraid of losing something is so powerful that normal everyday people will have fistfights in a Target parking lot. In fact, BlackFridayDeathCount.com measures the number of people who have died because of this cognitive bias of loss aversion. 7 deaths and 90 injuries. I wish this site didn't exist. I wish we could just go back to the old days where you could buy a couple of 46-inch screen TVs without really having to worry about it. Like, look, she's happy, right? That's how it's supposed to be, right? Buy it in January. The reason this is powerful, and I don't get this, I'm really getting into online chess. I play with my dad. I beat him all the time because he doesn't know this trick. The problem is this: we overvalue losses and we undervalue gains. The pain of losing $5 is greater than the pleasure of gaining $5. $5 is $5. Doesn't matter, right? No, it does matter. You feel ownership. You feel connected. You feel like it's yours. You don't want to lose it. Loss, I don't want to lose something. So my dad will never trade queens in chess, and I can just crush him. I just know. I throw my queen out there. He's not going to take it. He never does. He's afraid of losing his. Hey, listen, if we trade queens, it's equal, right? I didn't, So I can use that to gain an advantage on the board. We should call him up and tell him I'm using neuromarketing on him. Loss aversion, very, very powerful. The key to it is to create scarcity. Loss aversion isn't just losing something. It's losing the chance for something. That's why these people are, having fights in Target's parking lot. They're missing the chance of getting a deal. They don't even know what the deal is, right? Missing an opportunity. It actually, functional MRI scans show that it lights up the same parts of the brain as physical pain. I don't know why that is. I wish it wasn't that way. Hopefully all of us as free-thinking humans can fight that urge when that comes around. Question?
Whenever I order on Zappos, I always see only 2 left in stock.
Right.
And it makes me order.
Only 2 left in stock, right? Hurry up.
They're probably doing that on purpose.
Oh, for sure, no doubt. Yeah, they make a lot of money. No doubt.
Size.
Yep, for sure. Amazon, so I have a book that's for sale on Amazon. And Amazon always shows the quantity, right? How many are in stock. Amazon has out-of-stock protection where you give them a PDF, they will print on demand that book and send it. Amazon doesn't run out of books. They print books now. But they're still telling you how many they got on the shelf as if they might run out. What? Doesn't make sense. No, it makes perfect sense because we don't make sense. That's why. Because our brains are wired this way, right? We're afraid of losing something. I used to work at a Barnes & Noble, speaking of books, again. I worked at a Barnes & Noble. I was poor and hungry, living in mom's basement in 1997, making coffees at Barnes & Noble. But everyone's job title at Barnes & Noble is bookseller. That's the only job title at Barnes & Noble. They tell you this. If someone wants to buy a book, someone asks you for a book, go to the shelf, take the book off the shelf, and put the book in their hand. Now that person is holding the book. Do they own it? Not really, but they think they do. They start to. They own it a little bit. They feel an emotional attachment to it, right? I don't want to put that back. It's mine, right? If someone came and grabbed it from them, they'd feel like they lost it. That proves that they have loss aversion, right? They feel the key is to make them feel like they have something. There's great call to action studies that show software as a service companies, if they say, your free trial is expired, pay to continue. No, people don't click that button. Don't lose your data. Whoa, everybody clicks that button. It's a loss, right? I don't want to lose this. Powerful. Time is running out. Scarcity created. Limited quantity available. Scarcity created. This company is going to run out of Swedish massages. They don't have enough. They're flying off the shelves, those Swedish massages. You got to hurry up and get yours now. You sign up for anything. You sign up for any event, right? What is the purpose of an early bird ticket? It's to create scarcity. That's the only reason for it. It's to create another due date, another end date. Last day. To create another last day. I'm not pretending I'm immune to these tactics. They work on me all the time. Here's some calls to actions that work better when they're spun for loss aversion. Operators are standing by. Please call now. If operators are busy, please call again. Oh, I hope they're not busy. Maybe they're already busy. Gotta call now, right? This is also anecdotal, but there's a home shopping network case story about this doubling sales. I mentioned this. Save your data. Don't lose your data. Tickets available now. It sold out last time. Buy now and save $10. Don't throw away $10. All those feel different. Any rebate, because you put it in their hand and then they get the money later. Trial periods, free samples. Those create the feeling of ownership, thus the risk of loss. Early bird registration, countdown clocks. Watch this one on e-commerce in December. Right? How many days left before you can get it? Limited supply available. You have to remind, and even if you're just doing it in a blog post, the risk of not coming to this event, right? What are you going to miss if you don't come here? You don't have to do it with fancy programming or inventory integration or those things. Just whatever you sell in life or whatever your service is about, write a blog post about what could go wrong if you don't do it right. Remind people what bad could happen. That's a classic marketing technique. What does that stand for? Fear of missing out. FOMO. I just love how unpoetic that sounds. It's just, and terrifying. Who's seen Nancy Duarte's TED Talk, The Secret the Secret Structure of Public Talks? Nancy Duarte, this is one of the top viewed and my favorite. I recommend it all the time. Nancy Duarte did a TED Talk, and she explains how all great speakers use the same structure, and they do it by amplifying the difference between the present and the ideal, the current and the ideal. And she finds this same structure in Martin Luther King's I Have a Dream speech and Steve Jobs' I Have an iPhone speech. And they're the same. This is how it works. And it's relevant, you'll see in a second. What is, what could be? What is, what could be? Right? Now this difference, isn't it the job of a marketer to amplify the difference between what is and what could be? Look at like a Sky Mall catalog and like, oh, this is going to make your life so much better because you don't have to bend over to pick up that thing with this new reacher grabber tool. Like, sounds pretty great. They build up that difference, right, to amplify the difference. So fear of missing out or just writing about the benefits of your product, right? Really, you want to make sure to talk about the problems so that the benefits look Even better. That's basic marketing, but it turns out that's a neuromarketing trick related to loss aversion. A few specific writing tips. These are all based on cognitive biases. Wikipedia, by the way, has a list of all the cognitive biases. Very useful to make sure people don't use Jedi mind tricks on you without you knowing it. One of those cognitive biases is primacy. The first thing you see, like anchoring, the first thing you see, you're connected to. Another one of those is recency. The last thing you saw, you're connected to. Attention and retention are highest at the beginning and end of things. The middle is the weakest. There are theories that the brain literally tries to be more efficient because it uses so much energy that it tries to be more efficient by just cooling off and shutting down and kind of phasing certain sectors out while it's while listening. I saw a speaker prove this once by I should do it. I should have done it next time. We'll do this again someday. He just out of the blue in this presentation gave 10 words, and then a few minutes later went back and started giving more of his presentation, and then stopped and said, "Okay, what words did you remember from my list? And how many people remembered this word?" You know, he had to write them down first. How many remembered this word and this word and this word? And he drew a chart that looked just like that. Most people remembered the first and last words. Few people remembered the words in the middle. This matters in website navigation. This matters in writing blog posts and lists. Some people would say that this matters on chefs organizing a menu. Ever heard that before? Whatever's at the top and the bottom, that's the good stuff. The middle, they just kind of fill that out with whatever else they have. Primacy and recency. Website navigation, I like to keep mine narrow, right? We try to do no more than 7 items. There's something about short-term memory. There's not much evidence for this, but a lot of people believe that short-term memory famously holds 5 items plus or minus 2. I think that psychologically 8 is a lot more than 7. Phone numbers are 7. So I would never make your website navigation longer than 7 if at all possible. Start with descriptive navigation for things like your services, and with contact. Those are the things that are going to get the most attention and retention, the most noticed and the most remembered. Primacy and recency. Word choice, short and simple. Nielsen Norman Group, love these guys. Who knows Jacob Nielsen? What's that book called? Design of Everyday Things. Yes. Was that Nielsen or Norman? Norman. I'm going to just ask every time because I always used to get that wrong. And then people would tell me later and I felt foolish. These guys together have a company called the NN Group, and they test all kinds of cool stuff. They took a healthcare site and rewrote it to improve the readability level up to, or down to 8th grade level, hoping that low literacy users would have a higher success rate, a higher conversion rate. And it worked. The original site, only 46% of low literacy users had a success on the website, and they brought that all the way up to 82%. Surprise, surprise. Turns out the high literacy users also had a higher success rate. PhDs prefer to read it at an 8th grade level. Always write at an 8th grade level. There's no reason to go bigger than that. It's not effective. Not for marketing. Don't do it. Use short, simple words, the fresh, usual words you use all the time. Don't get fancy. Don't use jargon. I'm a big believer in this. So this is a little bit about word choice, kind of a rant. I don't even know if that was neuromarketing, but it's a cool study. Headlines. This is interesting to see which emotions affect sharing. One of these 2 researchers wrote a book recently called Contagion. Originally, it was based on this study that they did of the New York Times homepage and the percent probability that the articles on the homepage would make it to the most emailed list. They found that articles that invoke certain emotions are more likely to make that list, including 3 emotions: anxiety, anger, and awe. People don't like to share sad stuff. Don't be sad. Don't make your friends sad. There's a reason why we don't want to put sad stuff in our social streams. We want to inspire our audiences, right? Whether it's just your Facebook friends or your website readers. So those are the emotions that tend to get shared more. There's a lot more research about headlines, practicality, but I like to show this one because I had that slide already made from a different presentation, honestly. I'm lazy. Formatting for scan readers is a big mistake that a lot of writers make online. I think of it this way. Designers all know that you should leave white space, right? Everyone knows that. But writers didn't get the memo. Why don't writers leave white space? You should, when you're writing, you are designing how the text flows on a page. So leave white space. Leave lots of white space, right? Headers, subheads, bullets, bold. Look at that example over there. The longest paragraph is actually 4 lines. That's my maximum when I write. Rarely do I go, even in email if I can help it, rarely do I go more than 4 lines in a paragraph. Eye tracking studies back this up. People, you're not a professor with a captive audience of college students. Don't hit them with a wall of text. That's almost inconsiderate. It's ineffective. Doesn't work. I almost think of it as rude. This isn't going to work as well, even without big blocky paragraphs. The formatting really, really helps. People just don't read that much online, right? They're scanners. So format for your scan readers. That makes a giant difference right there. Visual tips. So when neuroscientists give presentations on any topic, they can decide to use a picture of an MRI brain or not use a picture of an MRI brain. Regardless of the topic, using a picture of a brain makes your content more persuasive. Weird. Why would that make any difference? So put a picture of your brain next to everything you write, and it'll be more credible. That's actually true. This is an actual study. Why does that matter? Looks smart. Must be true. There's a brain next to it. But pictures matter a lot, right? What are some reasons to put pictures in a blog post or a web page? So it looks good when it's shared on social networks.
That's the visual look.
Breaks it up, right? It works for scan readers. You're gonna pull your eye to something. Never post a blog post without an image. I hope not anyway. I just don't think that's a great idea. So I've gone to share great content and then realized, well, that'll look crappy in my social stream. There's no image with it. So here is, speaking of images and visuals, there's a woman named that's supposed to be Hedwig von Restorff, who did a study, and we can all learn for it 50 years later. This is a web page about targeting truckers. And what we want people to do on this web page is to look at get the benefit, take an action, and look over at the phone number. But when you do an eye tracking study on a page like that, you find that really the gazing and the eye tends to hang out over here on that big image. Do you remember what was there? Did you see that? It's like, OK, a big red sunburst in the middle of the page. My eye's going there. OK, that thing was overpowering. The goal of a web designer and anyone who makes a page, even a blog post, is to gently guide the visitor's attention through a series of messages through which they learn what you do, how well you do it, how you can do it for them, and then take an action. That's what we do. That's the point of web design. That's what usability is all about. It's to help people go through a series of actions, a series of content on a page or a series of pages in a sitemap. So let's redesign that page so that we get rid of that big red splash. And now we have just a nice truck over here. There's our phone number, some logos, and a form down here below. Great, right? This should work much better. Nope. Everybody's looking at the truck. And what's that down there? That was like a logo, right? What's that down there? It's a Peterbilt logo. It's a red thing. Why are people looking at the red stuff on this page? I think we can probably answer that now, right?
Bullseye factor.
Bullseye factor. Exactly. Why does red stand out?
Blue and white.
Because everything else is blue and white. That's what the von Restorff effect is. That your eyes, the biology of your brain, right, the occipital lobe, it's called, is constantly scanning the world for pattern interrupters. We seek pattern interrupters. That's what your eye is doing all the time. In fact, your eye isn't really even seeing a lot of the things you think you're seeing. Your brain is just constructing them. Something like 60% of your vision is almost a hallucination. You're really just scanning all the time to see something that pops out, and then your eye goes there, right? So this is a pattern interrupter. So, and it causes a problem, right? No one's looking at the phone number even a little bit. Should be obvious. The phone number was designed to blend in. So let's try it one more time. Let's Photoshop that truck so it's blue. Let's get rid of those. What looked like it wasn't even proof, by the way. Those were just trucks we worked with. Those logos weren't social proof. They were just different truck logos. And now we got a big box around the number. It's a contrasting color. Voila. Now it's working. Complementary colors are those colors which are on the opposite sides of the color wheel. What's the complement to blue? Orange. What's the complement to red? What's the complement to purple? Yellow. Got some art school students in here. I like that. But the complement to warm colors, blue, green, purple, are cool colors, red, green, or red, yellow, and orange. So if you have a blue brand, blue website, and you have like that big, this is what I was warning you about, that Pinterest button, wow, that's going to grab a lot of attention. Why? Because of the von Restorff effect. Because our eyes are scanning for pattern interrupters. Big blue website, little red Pinterest button, my eyes go in there. So that's color theory and web design. Look at this one. This is a website we designed for a LASIK website. It's a lead generation site intended to connect people with LASIK surgery. Request appointment, search, learn more, improve your life. The action color, this is a classic question, right? What color do people click on the most? It's whatever color is contrasting with the rest of the page. Choose one color in your design and make that the action color. Condition your visitors to know that anytime they see that color, that's where they click. If you look at your website and you've got clickable things that are blue and green and red, and there's an orange button down here, ask yourself if you've really done a good job of organizing and structuring the actions of your site around that which has visual prominence. And you might conclude, well, no, we just kind of made that up and we had no theory behind it at all. In which case, you might want to consider choosing a warm action color for a cool brand, or vice versa. Regardless, choose one action color for the whole site. This one freaks me out. Again, all these things freak me out knowing that they work. Faces. From the time that you are, I think, a month and a half old, studies show you will look at people's faces more than you look at other people's things, more than you look at other things. We are all like biologically hardwired to look at faces. Try to find for yourself a magazine ad that doesn't use faces. Try to find a cover of a magazine. Try to find a, faces are just, there's just no replacing them in marketing. They're just that powerful. We mentioned 102% bump in Jason Fried's or Basecamp's conversion rate by putting the face next to the testimonial. I have no doubt that that works, and I can imagine why. But not just any face, a baby's face. No, what matters here is where the baby's looking. This baby's looking at the camera. So we look at the baby's face. This baby's looking at the text, so we look at the text. Why the hell does that work? I don't know, but it works. You're looking at face, looking at you, you look at the face. A face looking in a direction, you look in that direction. An invisible arrow has been created from this baby to this text. Question way in the back from the silhouette. Does it work if the faces are adults? Yeah, I don't have one for adults, but the point is that it's a face and that an invisible arrow is created. It's not just for babies. But if you can't use a baby, or better yet, a cat, use a cat. Everybody loves cats. So that invisible arrow, you'll see it all the time if you start to pay attention to it. Newspaper editors all know this, and rarely will you see a face in an ad. Some people are nodding. You don't put someone on a layout of a page looking off the page, right? You have them looking toward the page. This picture was originally going the other way. On this website design, we flipped it so that the arrow is pointed toward the message. There's a reason for that. It's not arbitrary. And there are millions of marketers that already know this trick. That guy, who is that? Seth Godin. Yeah, that's no mistake. He knows what he's doing. Invisible arrow. Pat Flynn, I love his blogcast. Pat Flynn, he's looking up. I met Pat at a conference. I said, Pat, is it just me, or you guys are using that eye thing, right? You look where they look. He's like, oh yeah, look at these other ones. And he showed me a whole bunch of them. He gives he's a famous podcaster, and Smart Passive Income is a great blog and podcast. And he makes the strong case that podcasting is visual, and these are all podcasts. It's a strong case. Amy Porterfield, America's sweetheart, right? It's like that, the girl next door on Facebook. Wait, she's using mind tricks on me. I don't know if the halo effect's going to work next time, Amy. I'm on to you. I use Google Authorship whenever I post content, and that's why my face appears next to my search results when I rank in Google. That's my Google Plus profile picture, right? So anytime that I write a content that shows up in search, that's a fun topic, and I love teaching search. Maybe if Judy invites me back, we could talk about other things too. Google Authorship. Oh, this is an article I wrote about Google Authorship, and it ranks high for Google Authorship. And so this is how to get your picture in search results. That picture there, it's not an accident I chose that picture. I'm purposely choosing a picture from my Google Plus profile that points toward my content when it ranks. I am that big of a nerd. And the click-through rate is increased by 0.04% because of that. No, I made that up. I have no idea, but that sounded good. Should have used an odd number. It would have been even better, right? That would have been more credible. 0.05%. We're almost at the end. We're going to wrap up with time for just a few questions. But are you an optimist or a pessimist? The New York Times published some data. Actually, it was a story about a person who says that an asteroid could easily destroy the Earth, and it's not that unlikely, and we're all about to die. And they published it and asked people if they believed in this story. But actually, what they were doing was publishing it in different typefaces, different fonts, and measuring if people believed in the story or not, depending upon the font. It should all be the same, right? Why would fonts affect credibility? That doesn't make any sense. Sadly, fonts affect credibility. According to this study, Baskerville, for those of you who are going to run out and change your websites tonight, Baskerville is the most credible font, and Comic Sans is by far the least credible font. That's not a surprise. We all hate Comic Sans. So if you're really into this stuff, we'll share this. We'll post this somewhere, and there's some list of other things that we've published or other people. These three people talk about this a lot. I think I've mentioned two of them at least. One of them maybe. Robert Cialdini, who wrote the book Influence. I read a book about the financial crisis, and someone blamed this guy in that book for causing for making mortgages so easy to sell. This was the textbook for foisting subprime mortgages on people who can't afford them. Very powerful lessons in there. Greg CIDD, really underrated and great blogger. He writes for Help Scout. Writes a lot about neuromarketing and behavioral economics type things. Derek Halpern, a little bit scary, very intense marketer. He writes socialtriggers.com. He kind of yells at you in his videos, but smart. He's very smart. He's the guy that says you got to put subscribe forms everywhere. These books are also good, especially anything by Dan Ariely, Predictably Irrational. I really like that book. That's the book where I learned that the first person to order at dinner is most likely to be happy with their meal, because everyone else changes their order based on previous orders. Order what you want. Ignore what everyone else ordered. If you order first or last, just get what you want, right? Why would we all not order? Oh, no. Heidi ordered that already. I can't order that. Maybe she'll give me a bite of hers. That wraps it up. I have one request for many of you. Well, two things. We often say this. If you want, so we write articles sometimes on these topics. If you give us a business card we'll add you to our list. It comes out every 2 weeks. We don't spam people or do anything else with that. Just give me or Amanda, fellow Orbiteer, a list and your card, and we'll add you. No pressure. We don't want to send email to anyone that doesn't want it. Second, I hope Judy doesn't mind me asking this, but I'm running a survey of bloggers and working so hard to get people to fill out this really short 11-question survey. If any of you are a blogger, maybe just make a note on your business card if you have one. We'd love to send you this survey. We're trying so hard. We've sent hundreds of personal emails to fellow bloggers. We're at 655 respondents. We're trying to get 1,000. I'd be so grateful if you guys would help promote this survey we're doing. So anyway, that's it. Neuromarketing tips. Hope that was useful. You want to take some questions? Great. Who has questions about brain science? Who's going to use scarcity and social proof on their website tomorrow? Duh. Absolutely. Question.
This might sound like a stupid question, but is there something about cats, seriously, with the brain science? Can you explain that phenomenon?
I can't explain the phenomenon of cats. I really have no. It's amazing. It's beyond all reason.
Okay.
Well, there is. So here's what people might say. We are biologically wired to take care of our young. Animals that look, and the word cute means looks youthful. That's basically what cute is, right? Look it up. That's what the word means. So things that are cute look youthful, and we have a protective affection instinct. Probably biologically, it might be even a cognitive bias, I'm not sure. But things that don't look like spiders, spider videos are not popular. Nothing cute about them. So I think there's a connection between cute cats, cute youth, and this instinct we have to behave different ways around babies, maybe. I don't know. Question?
When does stock photography limit the persuasion?
I'm not a fan of stock photography. I think that authenticity sells much better than anything else, and even low-quality photography that's genuine would sell better than stock photography. But you see it used all the time. Without stock photography, you might not have any face at all, so you miss that trick. You can't use the invisible arrow of you look where they look, so you miss that trick. I think they're probably stock photography is better than no photography, but almost anything is better than stock, I would say. But I don't have evidence for it. It's a good question. Getty Images will not be publishing the answer to that question. Question?
Could you apply, I imagine you could apply the same principles to something as simple as your calling card?
Yeah. So can we apply these same principles to something like a calling card? Absolutely. These things work online, offline, anywhere. And you'll see them everywhere. Right? I saw a tag in Walgreens that said, 1 for $2, or it was like 1 for $1, 2 for $2. What is that? I'm being primed. They're priming me up, right? There's a no benefit there except more, right? It's just telling me to buy more. I really wish I'd taken a picture of that. It's great neuromarketing. So yeah, I'm talking specifically about websites because that's relevant to us. But yeah, you will see this all over the place. If you ask me for my business card, I'm happy to give you one. I have my face on there. It's a little illustration. We all have our faces on there. The face is next to the name, right? You're going to look at the face. You're going to have a better memory of me. If you have a pile of business cards under your monitor, flip through them and see whose faces you can remember. If you can get that onto your calling card, right, you're going to be more memorable without a doubt. Question?
An odd question related to photography. What about if what you're selling is photography, not stock photography? Is there any research to support? Because the people that are buying photographer services aren't looking for copy, buy now, call here. Is there any eye tracking, any number of nav things that are in these kind of weird things, like even in other like paintings where it's all visual?
Sure. The question is how to sell photography on a website or how to sell painting on a website. What does a marketer of a visual medium do to sell better? Web Marketing 101, what are the biggest pains that your audience has that you can solve? What are they really afraid of? Have you written about how you address that fear? What do they call your services? Your navigation can be organized in descriptive navigation, talking about those specific things, right? If you're a wedding photographer and some people don't use you for weddings but other events, make sure that events are there too. That your site is structured to fit into the pigeonholes in their mind so that they can categorize you that way. I would tell your personal story, why you love this. Famous quote from Teddy Roosevelt: "No one cares what you know until they know that you care." If I want to buy your services, I'm going to be much more likely to do so if I know that you do this because you love this and this is why, and this was the image you saw when you were that age that changed your mind about the power of this medium. Make me feel something. That really helps. And that story can be told with text and images. Of course, you'll have great photography everywhere on your site. You've got a huge natural advantage. But these aren't necessarily neuromarketing things. These are just kind of Web Marketing 101 or what you might learn in an MBA program, which I haven't really done. But is that helpful?
Yes, except that last thing is completely idiosyncratic to the niche where people don't want to know when you fell in love with photography. But to your point, they do want to connect with you emotionally.
They do want to connect with you emotionally. Somehow, people want to know why,
Something about you. Yeah.
Something about you, why you care. In a way, you are your product. A lot of people, they are their own product. That's what they're selling is themselves. You're not selling, there's no photo on your site that's for them. What you do for them is custom, and you are kind of your own, you are the service. There was a question?
Actually, I just wanted to add to that. I buy a ton of photography for work. And
I get so frustrated looking at different photographer sites, and I can't even get through it because it's
Yeah, so the buyer of photography recommends that photographers have websites that are totally authentic and not stocky at all, and that load quickly so you can get through it and you're not going to bounce and go to a different site. We're going to take another question until Judy stops us. In the back?
Yes, have you done any research or read any research on sound and whether that sound or music is effective or ineffective?
Well, I mentioned tone of voice, and I think the sound that goes with full motion video is part of a mix of things that is just really, really credible. When you get that tone of voice, that person talking in that message, and that comes through in a way that you just feel much more connected to it. I listen to a lot of audiobooks, and the person who reads the audiobook is called a performer. You know, I think that's the level that it can go to when you're talking about voiceover audio or those kinds of things. Sound in general, it's a violation of a standard web convention to have sound play by default. Of course, right? Don't put music on your website. People used to do that, and everyone hated it. But no, I don't have any other tips except for that. But it's a really interesting topic. If you find something, I'd love for you to share it. And I assume, considering all the things people do offline, right? Like, I think about like hotel lobbies have probably done a lot of research on this. Hotel chains, companies that have captive audiences in like waiting rooms or elevators. There might be evidence there. But no, I wish I had a better answer. That I'm sure is really interesting. Go ahead.
Is there any information on sort of the like text-to-picture ratio that's ideal for a website? Not too cluttered, but also not too scared.
Yeah. I know conversion optimization companies. These companies offer services at maximizing the percentage of visitors who take action that have sites that are getting even more minimal than before. So really, if you want to make a message on your website more prominent, you can do so just by taking away a different message. So I would keep trying to remove things from the site until it's just super clean. There are definitely, I mean, the trend is going in that direction, and you know, the more distraction you can take away, the better it's going to be. This is going to sound technical at first, but one of the reasons why websites rank high in Google is because visitors that go to that website from a search page stay at that website for several minutes before they go back to the search page. So making a page that is visually appealing and draws the user in with a combination of images and text can actually affect the ranking through what's called a user interaction signal. It matters. So how do magazines draw you in? They have an image, and they have a larger typeface for the first paragraph or so. Don't use line length of more than like 12 words, right? Small fonts and large lines, that's bad for legibility. So I think at very least, if you want to draw people in and potentially even rank higher, you could maybe the very top of the article is like a 2-column layout with an image on one column, and then the other column is shorter line length. Or you style your site so that the H1 header is followed by an H2, which is like a full paragraph or short paragraph. And then, of course, leave lots of white space. Format your site in these ways: bullets, bold, italics, numbered lists, internal links, and short paragraphs. Should we take another one? That's it. Thank you, everyone. Thanks in advance for your help on that survey.